And I'm talking to my colleagues in the industry that are doing exactly what I'm doing. And we're all saying, okay, where are you making money? And we're like, okay, parking lots, commercial roof inspections, whatever. And then you go to the analysts and they go, well, where's the money right now? And they go, oh, it's in public safety and it's in agriculture. Really? Well, we don't see that.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 231. What are the drone industry analysts missing? For that question, we turn to Tom Walker, founder and CEO of DroneUp, the fastest growing drone services provider in the U.S. DroneUp matches missions with small unmanned aerial system pilots. They locate, qualify, and deploy single pilot or multi-pilot crews according to their clients' requirements. The company is committed to providing a comprehensive network of pilots while maintaining steadfast commitment to safety and responsible operations. Prior to DroneUp, Tom served as the president of Web Teks, a leading online mobile research and strategy development firm. A former military officer, Tom is a recognized pioneer in military and government digital reform, having managed the programming and web systems to support both the U.S. and international special forces. In this edition of the Drone Radio Show, Tom talks about DroneUp, the current opportunities to make money in the industry, and what the drone industry analysts seem to be missing. But before we hear from Tom, I want to thank those of you who are supporting my funding campaign. Now you have the option of making a one-time donation in any amount by going to droneradioshow.com/donate. Whether it's $1, $100, or much more, you can help defray the cost of production and keep the podcast going and growing. And if you'd like to make a monthly contribution, you can still go to patreon.com/droneradioshow. Now let's find out what the drone industry analysts might be missing with Tom Walker of DroneUp. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Tom to introduce himself.
I am Tom Walker. I'm the founder and CEO of DroneUp.
Hi, Tom. To get us started, tell us about DroneUp.
DroneUp is an end-to-end drone services provider. We really fill the needs of our clients who don't necessarily want to manage or operate a drone fleet, or in many cases, they don't want to manage the drone fleet, the pilots, or the airspace, or the responsibilities of all of that. And in addition to that, we, through our partnerships throughout the industry, round that out with processing and analysis to, I hope, and we feel that we provide a complete end-to-end drone services solution.
So is it a marketplace for operators, or do you manage the services a little more?
It's much more managed. In fact, we don't do smaller retail operations. What we really focus on is providing services for customers who have either large area needs or different project needs. And then we manage everything from airspace management, waiver process. We actually design the autonomous flight patterns for all the flights. And then we select from our over 10,000 pilots in the United States, the pilots that have the best platform, the best experience, the credentials necessary, and when possible, experience flying with us. We do everything from end to end and guarantee the delivery of the final product, whether it's just the collected data or whether it's collected, processed, and analyzed. And then in addition to that, we also insure every flight, not just have the pilots provide insurance, but we insure every single flight for our customers for a minimum of $1 million.
What type of clients are using the service most right now?
Our primary customers right now have been facilities managers. We do an enormous amount of parking lot inspections, large commercial roof inspections, both photogrammetric and thermal. In addition to that, we have really had a growing number of customers in the chemical tank space. So we're doing a lot of overhead, not internal, but overhead chemical tank inspections to determine sensor status and sensor replacement requirements. So as you can imagine, from large facilities management companies, large big box retailers with large distribution centers, and then, of course, some of the largest names in the chemical industry.
How did the idea for DroneUp come about?
That's a good question. So originally, I've been in the technology sector for quite some time, and when I saw drones starting to emerge as a tool with significant business application opportunities, we really focused on addressing two things. And number one was that, at least for the foreseeable future, there was going to be a man or a person in the unmanned world, either flying the drones, maintaining the drones, collecting data off of the drones. And the second point that we really wanted to address was that very few organizations would ever be able to manage and own all of the necessary assets to respond to any particular requirement, whether that's just by sheer volume of platforms and people they would need, or whether it was because the requirement had shifted from ortho to LiDAR to thermal to multi or hyperspectral. So we really had originally looked at it kind of almost as an Uber model, marketplace model, like you had asked earlier. But once we realized that not only were we going to be collecting data for one-off situations, that we were going to have the opportunity to collect data that through its processing and analysis would, be used in the workflows and the business processes, we really kind of moved away from the marketplace model and more into a professional services model, almost to the point of making it transparent to the customer, all of the sausage making that goes into the planning of the flights, the collection of the data, and wanted to make it a very seamless acquisition of data process on behalf of the customer.
How do you get the pilots?
We've been very, very fortunate that we've not had to really work too aggressively to acquire pilots. Depending on the day of the week or what's going on in the news, we average anywhere from, a half a dozen new pilots, as many as 20, 25 new pilots an hour signing up with us. I think that just comes from name recognition and stories that are getting out there. And quite candidly, there's a lot more product in terms of pilots and platforms than there is work right now. So, I think everybody is looking at companies like ours for opportunities to participate in the marketplace. And fortunately, the amount of opportunities to work is going up, and we're seeing more and more that the type of work that we're doing, the way that we're paying, and the way we take care of our pilots is positive. And so that kind of industry chatter leads to a lot of new pilots signing on with us.
Now, speaking of the work, DroneUp recently signed 2 agreements that are noteworthy, one with Skywatch AI and the other with the Virginia Commonwealth. Can you talk about these agreements?
Skywatch is a partnership that we have been involved with for a long time. They're a very solid partner that allow us to dynamically ensure our flights and many of the types of commercial flights that we do. It's been a great relationship and a seamless integration. And, they've built a good system and then backed it up with just good, solid business practices. And we're very appreciative of that relationship. On the Commonwealth, that was probably, I think, one of the biggest stories in the industry right now that I don't think has got as much attention as it will get in the near future. But Virginia led the efforts on an RFP for statewide UAS services in 5 categories, ranging from law enforcement to marketing and tourism, emergency response, gaming and agriculture, and transportation. And there was such an interest in that contract, both in and inside of Virginia and out, that NASPO, the National Association of State Procurement Officers, took it on as what is called a NASPO contract, which made it eligible to be utilized by any state in the United States, including any U.S. territory. And we were very fortunate. A lot of people bid on the contract. It was about a 15-month rigorous competition. Some people won 1 or 2 categories in 1 or 2 zones because the contract is broken up in 12 zones. We were lucky because we won all 12 zones in every category in every zone. So now the contract is being finalized. The paperwork is being signed off both by NASPO and the state of Virginia. We're anticipating that that's going to be done in the next week or so. And then at that point, we will be working with each of the states to get them officially signed on. They don't have to have an entirely separate contract. They just have to have what's called a purchasing agreement. And then we and a handful of other people will be able to provide basically drone services and anything that you can imagine to any state, local, or education organization in any state in any U.S. territory. So I think it's a very significant event in the drone industry timeline.
Can you elaborate more on its significance? What does it actually address?
Prior to this, there were really two pieces missing in the procurement of commercial drone services. Number one was there hadn't really been a competitive event that helped determine what fair market pricing was. So, there really wasn't any way to evaluate what is and isn't appropriate pricing for different scenarios and different platforms and different times of responses. But secondly, I like to tell people everybody with a drone is a drone company, right? So, you got Tom, Dick, and Larry's drone services. And that was kind of a challenge to procurement folks to determine who really met the minimum requirements for both public safety, transportation, or whatever type of operation it was. And thankfully, what I think this contract has done is it's addressed both of those because it was both a pricing and a performance competition. And so I think now, at least at the state and local level, it will knock down some of the barriers that may have precluded procurement of these services in the past.
What is it about DroneUp that you feel allowed the company to score so well in the process?
I think it was a handful of things. I think number one was we had been fortunate to take our bumps and bruises on some public safety related events over the last few years, that while we had some opportunities to support the public sector, we weren't necessarily always being compensated for it, but was still counted as past performance. And we had taken a lot of opportunities to do that, both through multiple hurricanes, through the wildfires, and probably a half a dozen search and rescue or search and recovery missions. Part of the reason that we did that, I'd like to say that we were so brilliant, we were looking over the horizon at building a past performance portfolio. That really wasn't the case. We were really doing a lot of those things because we felt like if we had the opportunity to begin to build relationships with people in public sector, that they would start to see the value of what we were doing. But we had a pretty deep portfolio of supporting a lot of different areas within public sector. I think number two was we went in and really spent a lot of time sitting down with different agencies that we knew were going to be participating on it, interviewing them, and really trying to determine what was the best approach that would make us engageable and not look like we were trying to come in and push a new way of doing things or a new set of technologies that might interfere with the way they do things today. And then third, and I think probably most importantly, was because we were small and we had, the SWAM status, which is the small minority owned status. Certainly that gave us a competitive advantage from a contracting standpoint. And then the last thing I would say that I know was pretty strong was that time we bid it, we had about 6,000 pilots. By the time we got to do our final submission and update, we were a little over 8. And we were pretty proud of the number and the large percentage of those that are either active or retired public safety personnel. So I think it was just a combination of all of those things.
Are there any other company milestones that you'd like to talk about?
What I'm most proud of is that we have a nearly 100% referenceable customer list, which in this industry, when you're in a new industry and you're trying to build a business where, neither the client's expectations have been maybe realistically aligned, you may have not worked out all the bugs in your delivery model, but we've been able to really establish a relationship and a brand and a reputation with the industry and with our customers that they work with us through that and we work with them through that. We've had 100% delivery. So every project that we've been hired for, we've delivered and been paid for. And we think some of those things are pretty significant. I think the fact that we're experiencing right now right at 100% month-over-month growth and have been for going on 13 months is a pretty significant milestone for us because that's not what we're seeing in the rest of the industry. And I get to be on your show, which I think means that we've almost reached rock star status. So that's a pretty big milestone.
Well, I appreciate that. As you mentioned, not everyone in the industry is enjoying stellar growth, and there are a lot of changes going on right now. What's your opinion on the industry today?
I have a couple of different things. I mean, one of the statements that I made at the keynote that I gave last week in Vegas was that the industry needs to stop acting like drone people who are trying to build businesses, and we need to start acting like business people who are trying to build an industry. And the basis for that is this is a new industry. It's growing. We understand that there is so much potential in what we're doing, and it's going to have a dramatic impact on a lot of different areas, certainly from intermodal delivery to data collection, data processing. It's got more potential than most people even realize yet. But we have to understand that the market is going to adopt our services at a rate that is driven by how quickly we provide valuable products and services to the market. And you can't just raise a lot of money, build a big brand, and then go out and expect that you're going to start signing 10, 15, and $20 million contracts. And I think we've seen way too much of that. We operate on a much more frugal model. We've raised painfully little money compared to a lot of people in the industry. We've built a platform that allows us to scale to the market. And I think there are a lot of other people out there that are doing it right and doing it well. But unfortunately, what I believe is that the industry has spent way too much time trying to tout the big money companies and trying to blame the inability for us to make money on the fact that we don't have BVLOS and we don't have large UAS and we don't have a perfect air traffic management system. And so I think right now, hopefully, and we hope that some of the things we're doing and saying will help impact this, but I think the industry needs to focus on smaller, more tangible products and services, things that we can deliver to our clients that meet three key words, and I say them all the time. They need to be affordable, they need to be achievable, and they need to be actionable. And if we are doing things that allow people, if we're providing services that are affordable and people can take a little bit of risk and try them out, if we only take projects that are achievable, meaning we know we can deliver what they need and we can do it over and over and over in a consistent fashion. And third, if we're delivering data that is actionable in the hands of the customer, not just here's pretty pictures or here's some cool thermal data, but rather is what we're going to deliver going to do something to improve your processes, fit into your workflows, and improve your value chain. And I think if we could do more of that, we're going to do a lot more to promote the growth of our industry.
I read a recent article that you wrote about the drone industry analysts being wrong. Many of the concepts that you put in that article sound very similar to what you're talking about here.
I don't want to ever sound like a broken record, but I'm going to keep saying it till I think people are hearing it. But it is the same message. And when I said the drone analysts were wrong, it's, for example, I went to a couple of sessions while I was at Interdrone, and I'm talking to my colleagues in the industry that are doing exactly what I'm doing. And we're all saying, okay, where are you making money? And we're like, okay, parking lots, commercial roof inspections, whatever. And then you go to the analysts and they go, well, where's the money right now? And they go, oh, it's in public safety and it's in agriculture. Really? Well, we don't see that. So that's always why we joke. Another comment that I made during my keynote was I used to say the only people who could be wrong more than 50% of the time and keep their jobs were weather forecasters. But I've since added analysts in the drone sector because these guys seem to be wrong all the time.
I can see how it can be confusing. If you're going to a conference to learn about the business opportunities and the analysts say one thing while the people who are actually making money say something different, how does someone make sense of that?
That's a great question. And I honestly don't know that I have an answer for that, because one of the things that I wonder this out loud is, we don't get interviewed by the analyst. I think we've had one or two calls in the last 2 years. And, I'm not saying we're one of the biggest companies in the industry, but, we're certainly, from size and scope and coverage and growth, we certainly have to be one of the movers in the industry. And we're not talking to the analysts. So I'm not 100% sure where they're getting their data from, I guess from other smart analyst people. But I think if you're looking for where the activity is today, I think you should listen to the people who are doing it. If you're trying to plan for 12, 18, 24 months out, I think you should listen to the analyst. And then the pattern of how you invest, where you invest, and what you intend to do to create revenues over that period of time needs to be a somewhat sophisticated blend of those two things. That's probably the best advice I could offer.
What have the past few years taught you about the drone industry?
The easiest thing to address in that, and I'd say probably the most significant thing we've learned, is that proselytizing about drones to clients means nothing to them. Too many people want to go out and want to do a pitch to a client. And so they want to show them drones. They want to show them different drones and pictures and images. And, they want to show videos of drones flying. And I think the number one thing that we've had to come to grips with, and really it's kind of a humbling thing, is realize that they don't really care about drones. What they really care about is there data that I can now collect that I couldn't before because either it was cost prohibitive or there just wasn't a way to collect it. And is the capture of that data and the price to capture that data going to create a valuable proposition as I integrate that into my workflow and my sales process? So I think we spent, if you go look at some of the conferences, and I'm sure you've been to them and you've seen it, even when it is marketing to the industry, people want to really talk about their capabilities and the drones and how many pilots they have and how good they are at their, whatever it is they do. I feel like in some ways we could almost take drones completely out of the conversation and just start talking about the value of aerial data and make points like, okay, a large big box distribution center, what were you paying to have your roof inspected before? Why did you not use thermal? Oh, because it was $25,000 to have a manned aircraft fly a thermal inspection of the roof. But now that you can do it for $2,000, does it make more sense in your facilities management strategy? And then that starts a different conversation that, they are willing to have, because now you're talking in terms of cost and return on investment that makes perfect sense to them. So I would say, it's easy. It's the number one thing is talk about data, value of data, and cost of data, and quit talking about drones for a little while.
Tom, we talked about the value that DroneUp provides to its clients. What about the pilots? What value do they get by working with DroneUp?
Well, there's two different answers to that. If you're asking me how we present our value to them, I'll address that one first. And that was pretty easy. And that is, there's only so much work out there. And I encourage all of our pilots to do their own thing on the side, have their own businesses. Don't ever rely on DroneUp as your sole source for business, because this is a growing industry and there's just not enough demand out there to utilize all of the product that is available. But the one thing that, and I heard it at the conference last week over and over and over from pilots that are part of our network, is they like the type of work that they're getting from us. It's more commercial work. It borders on the complex, but not unachievable type work. It's interesting. And so, they appreciate that. They also appreciate the fact that we're paying probably 20, 25% higher than the market. We pay our pilots in 5 business days after completion of the job, regardless of if we are or ever get paid from the customer. So we really try to treat our pilots in a manner that they understand that we very much respect their talent, their time, and their work for us. In terms of how we pitch their value to us, I think it goes back to what I just said. I mean, we clearly treat them in a way that we hope they understand that we respect them and value them.
And it doesn't sound like operators have to worry about being undercut on price.
We don't do bid work for the pilots. With our pilots, we put it out to our pilot network that people through our platform who we have verified are qualified, capable, and available to do the specific job. We post it to them with a very specific price, and they know they're going to get paid that price no matter what. I tell people we're not looking for the lowest price. We're looking for the best pilots. And so, we don't do low bid work.
So what's the next step for DroneUp over the next several months?
Well, we're doing onboarding of Lance right now. So we're going to be focusing on getting Lance launched in the next 30 days, commercial and further coordination. We're doing that primarily to allow us to have a more seamless deployment feature of our pilots. I think we're going to see a very significant ramp up in efforts and staff to respond to the opportunities of this contract. I mean, if you think about it, this isn't a 1 or 2 person business development project. You're talking about every state, multiple agencies in the state, cities, municipalities. This is going to be a very significant effort on our part to get the word out to the market of the availability and services. And I think that's going to lead to a massive educational process for us, because just like we've had to work with our commercial customers to really educate them on the capabilities of what we can do and the processes and how to integrate with us and utilize us, I think we're going to be doing that over and over and over significantly. And so you're going to see a pretty significant increase in our staff expansion and some other marketing efforts to begin going state by state on a roadshow.
Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
I think we've covered a lot right here, and very good questions. And I really appreciate what you're doing and the others in the industry that are doing what you're doing, because I think it's important that we have kind of practical communication, practical conversations about what's going on in the industry, both good and bad. And I applaud it, and I hope you continue to do it.
I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you. And for my final question, what message would you like to leave regarding DroneUp and its role in the drone industry?
I think it's important, and I think I've said this just multiple times over the past 2 weeks, that sometimes me specifically, I will come across as maybe being a little hard on the industry, but I believe in this industry. I love this industry. I've got an incredibly committed staff that not only works hard to maintain our relationship with the industry, our relationship with the customers, but our relationships with the pilots. And, if you really look at the core of what motivates us, and I've said this before, and I continue to say it, is we take care of our people and our brand and our industry's reputation. And if everybody in the industry would do that same thing in that same order, I think it's amazing what so many of us in this industry have the opportunity to accomplish.
That's it for episode 231 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Tom Walker of DroneUp. I want to thank Tom for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about DroneUp or want to connect with Tom, check out the webpage at droneup.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, please consider supporting the podcast with a small donation. The content is always free, but for as little as $1, you can help defray the cost of production. To donate, go to droneradioshow.com/donate or patreon.com/droneradioshow. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Gores.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.